Told you I was making this a weekly thing. So, yeah, now we're on to Kamen 01 Episode 2, and okay, I'll admit, this show has me hooked now, because there are some more interesting things introduced in this episode, but also a couple of grievances I might have later on down the line. One thing I'll bring up right away, I did neglect to mention, like, a glaringly important aspect from the first episode, that being Daybreak Town. That's the original town. I think that's supposed to be the original town where the humor gears were first developed, but we learned in this episode that the Daybreak Town was actually destroyed thanks to rampant humor gears, which it was also responsible for killing Aruto's humor gear dad, and as we learned, and also fueled the hatred of Fuwa, who is our secondary writer this season, Kamen Vulcan. And because of what we also saw in the last episode, with what appears to be a crashed satellite in the water of Daybreak Town, it leads to questions as to whether or not the two main members of MetableGenRide.net, Jin and Hirobi, whether or not they're also connected to hidden intelligence. Also, I realized last episode I was calling it Hidden Industries instead of hidden intelligence. So, apologies on that. It was just a simple brain fart. But yeah, in this episode we're introduced to the two main AIMS agents, Fuwa and Yua. Fuwa is the captain of the AIMS unit, whilst Yua, I believe, is supposed to be the one who gives. She's basically the head authority of the unit, and Fuwa is a dick. Like, there's no other way around it. Fuwa, as far as I'm concerned, is a reckless, hot-headed, unprofessional dick. And, you know, I normally hate this kind of characterization, because I know it's just going to be, oh yeah, good reasons to do it. And in fairness, he does have good reasons for not liking the humor gears, because he was in Daybreak Town and was almost killed by a bunch of humor gears before they were eventually stopped. And apparently the events of Daybreak Town were covered up by hidden intelligence. But the way he acts... Okay. He goes as far as to claim that 01, who, at this point no one knows that Aruto is Season 1, well, aside from Izu. And he goes as far as to think that 01 is a humor gear. Based on what? Like, literally, what proof do they have that 01 is a humor gear? Because, you know, if they were able to encounter the humor gears and they somehow knew of 01 to begin with, they should have noticed that that 01 was destroying the other humor gears, but like the evolved comedian humor gear, like the grasshopper one. So it's like, where did they get this idea that 01 is a humor gear? Unless I say it's simply thought process that it's supposed to be Fuwa's thought process that any machine created by hidden intelligence is automatically a humor gear, which is nonsense. Especially since there's virtually no similarity between the design of the humor gears and the design of 01. 01 is clearly designed for anti-humor gear combat, just like AIMS is. So, yeah, Fuwa is just being an unprofessional dick, and I like they call him out on this. Like, Yua, who is essentially his partner, and can only authorize him becoming Kamen Vulcan through authorizing the shooting wolf progress key for their headshot device, the Shot Riser. Like, only she can authorize it, and she calls him out as reckless, irresponsible, and hot-headed, which I like. I'm glad they're finally calling him out on this. And, you know, she does this constantly, especially when Fuwa goes as far as to harass Haruto, you know, like, no, not Haruto, Aruto, and just hold up against the wall and say, we know the yellow one's one of yours. So it's like, honestly, if that was the case, if I was in Yua's position, Fuwa would be fired. Like, simple as that. Fuwa would be fired. I kick him off of AIM, so you send him back home and tell him not to come back. But, nonetheless, yeah, that's just my issue with Fuwa. Although, at the end of the episode, there is an interesting thing, like, when Aruto comes out, because he did something that Ames didn't. He got footage of his fight with the Human Gears, because there are 2 Human Gears in this episode. One appears to be based on a saber-toothed tiger, I think it is, and the other, probably a bat. I want to say it's a bat. But we do see he's able to catch the footage, and he takes up full responsibility of being the chief executive officer of Hiden Intelligence, and you know he ends it with a joke, and you know everyone else is obviously standing there baffled and saying what the joke is, but like why would he tell a joke like that? And we see Fuwa is actually trying not to laugh. Finally, we actually have someone, aside from Aruto, who finds Aruto's jokes funny. Because, again, I think the show's trying to do this thing was like, the comedy is intentionally not funny. You know, obviously showing that, that Aruto is just not a good comedian. You know, even with his puns and dad jokes. And here's something, I love puns and dad jokes. Because, like, as if you could tell from my Sans jacket that I couldn't wear today. So, I like that kind of stuff. It's one of the reasons why Nobuharu from Juden Sentai Kyoryuger was my favorite character from that series. Well, aside from Taurine. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. But I will admit the history with Daybreak Town because remember both Aruto and Fuwa were there. I mean, at different there were different parts of it, but they were there when the attack began. They both have a different dichotomy between each other, which I think is good because Fuwa was attacked by rampant Human Gears who wanted to kill him and actually got close to doing so. Whereas Aruto was saved by his Human Gear dad, which obviously gave me the idea that humans and Human Gears can coexist peacefully. So yeah, there's at least an interesting dichotomy there, and there's a legit motivation behind them. I just wish that Fuwa was a bit less of a dick. One of the Human Gears episodes, the one that gets turned into what I think is a saber-toothed tiger, there's this bit where we learn he's actually called Mamoru because Koronosuke Hiden, the previous CEO, Aruto's grandfather, yes, I remember the name this time, basically named him that, so as far as Aruto's concerned, that considers him family, which actually kind of makes it a little more tragic when, in the episode, Mamoru is infected, is connected to multiple Jinrai.net, and turned into a Human Gear, not a Human Gear, turned into a monster. And according to Izu, the process is irreversible, so the only way to stop it is to destroy him. Yeah, Aruto literally has no choice but to destroy his new friend, which that's actually like a clever way to put in like a darker twist on it. Instead of just making everything uber grim and uber dark and all that stuff. And because of the stuff with Daybreak Town being covered up, it also hints at like the idea of corruption within Hiden Intelligence. Calling it now, it was the vice president. Like in the first episode because there was this meeting with Aruto and all the executives, the members of the board for Hiden Intelligence, where they read out Koronosuke's will. And the vice president was all like, well, I'm the president now. Then he read the will and was disturbed that Aruto was put in charge, despite obviously Naruto having no experience and very clearly just wanting to be the comedian. One thing I also want to get off my chest right now is... Okay, I said in the first episode I didn't find Naruto interesting. He was just a goofball. Let me make this clear that I have no problem with goofball protagonists. Like, I have nothing inherently wrong with I have nothing inherently against them. Like Gintaro from Kamen 4th. He's a goofball, but he's also a bit of a badass. So it's like, I have no problem with him being a goofball because he also shows, you know, he's not a dumbass. I mean, you could argue that Shotaro from Kamen Double is also a bit of a goofball, even though he is a hard-boiled detective. But him being a goofball is more in the sense that he's more open and is also friends with all the contacts in the series. So it's like I have nothing. So yeah, I have nothing wrong with goofball characters. You can argue that Yusuke Godai Kuga was a goofball. My problem with goofball characters is when they're written to be complete and utter dumbasses, and yet it is never addressed as such. Like, this is my problem with Right Suzuki from ToQger. This is my problem with Takaharu Igasaki from the Ninja. This is my problem with Lucky from Q Ranger. Three of the worst Sentai Reds, and all for the same reason. They're complete and utter dumbasses, and their idiocy is never called into question. Especially when the idiocy also causes further damage than good. So, yeah. Naruto being a goofball, I don't have a problem, and I'm glad he's not an idiot because, you know, again, he was there when Daybreak happened, and he was saved by a Humagear, which informed his opinion on Humagears. Like, he has no problem against them. And, you know, it would look silly for the CEO of a company that created the Humagears to hate the Humagears. And again, Fuwa does have a good motivation. He's just being really asinine about it. Okay, I do like the shot. To give it for the shot for a couple of I like the shot riser because, you know, I always enjoy it when the gun is the henshin device. That always seems like. That's part of the reason why I did initially watch Lupin Ranger vs. Power Ranger, because I just enjoy the idea of the guns being the transformation trinkets. It's why I enjoy Kamen Rider The End. It's why I enjoy the stuff from Kyoryuger. Like, you know, their main weapon is also the transformation device. That's just fun to me. And it's also because of that I also really like Kamen Rider Vulcan's design. Like, it's definitely more. It kind of has like a build thing going on, like a build and double thing going on, where it's like it's two different colors and across two different halves. Except it's more along like the double side, where it's like one half is blue, one half is white, as opposed to build, which kind of did the colors in an X pattern. So. Yeah, I really do like Vulcan's design. I do like the animal motif with the wolf. Wish there was more detail on the helmet, but that's just me. And I have a feeling I'm also going to really like Kamen Rider Valkyrie's design next episode when we see Yua transform into Valkyrie. Though I would like to know where exactly they get another shot riser. Oh, and I just thought this something that kind of adds to Fuwa's hypocrisy. If he hates Humagears, why is he using the progress key? Because it's clear that the rampant Humagears, at least that's what I'm calling them, are using corrupted progress keys. You know, obviously Naruto is using a regular progress key, but we also see that Fuwa's also using the shooting wolf progress key, which means he should hate that kind of tech. Nah, whatever. I'm sure more details will come up in the next episode about the differences between the two different progress keys. Well, two different types of progress keys, rather. But yeah. Episode 2. I enjoyed episode 2. Like this series is getting me hooked now. Because there's a lot more mystery behind Daybreak Town, and even if I don't like Fuwa right now, I am liking that dichotomy between him and Aruto. But though there's also seems to be the same problem I have between Brave and Exade from Exade. Yes, I know it's the same writer, but who knows how it will turn out? But maybe I actually will end up enjoying Fuwa as a character eventually. But yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. You know the joke. You like what you saw, hit that like button, comment below, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and of course follow me on Twitter at media_man18. And of course, if you want to see more content, I've got my blogspot link in the description below, so please check that out. I appreciate the read. I appreciate sharing it on social media, through Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr if you want. So, do all that. I greatly appreciate it. And that's all for today, guys. I'm Callum Lewis, the Media Hood, signing off.